Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Pop Culture Squadcast Live. It is Tuesday, so we are here. We have a guest tonight. Hopefully, they will be here shortly. We're going to talk to Zack Kaplan about his newest work and some of his older work. Um, it is the middle of August. It's supposed to be the dog days, but over here on the East Coast, it's not. It's nice and temperate weather. We have it is the first major hurricane of the Atlantic season. So, yay, Aaron,
Yay.
and try and be nice to everybody. Um, um, we're gonna start off tonight with doing some promo work. We're gonna talk about some things, but we're also gonna kind of talk about some products that are available, whether they be comics or apparel, and I felt like it was time to kind of pull away from the horrible news of the day because there's plenty of that, and talk about some things that people are trying to bring to us. Um,
You raised an interesting point. I am old enough to remember when we would have days, Monday through Friday, those middle weekdays that weren't horrible. That was a long, long time ago.
that was what 2 years
Hi,
ago.
Sherry. No. I was like 20 years ago, maybe 25.
Listen,
It
the
didn't
last
used to
nine
be
months,
horrible every day.
the last 9 months feel like 11 years. So
Yes. Well, they do. It's amazing. It seems like we should be having another presidential election, even though it also seems like we deserve one.
who knows? Who knows if we're ever going to have that?
Yeah,
Um,
interesting.
all right. First shout out of the day, of the night is to Rogue Prints, because Rogue Prints are a small shop that delivers some high quality content and stuff. So they have available again for a short period of time the Should Have Read More comic shirt that was inspired right here on the Squadcast. Go get this. You can even pay pounds for it. Um, I will say that I wore this shirt at San Diego Comic Con last month, and I happened to see Becky Cloonan, who's the designer and artist of this, and also one of my favorites, of course, as I've mentioned
Hmm.
many, many times. Um, I went to go see her in the evening. I was across the room from her, and I went to go over to tell her that while I was at the con that day, at least 10 people stopped me and said, "Hey, that's a great shirt. Where'd you get that shirt?" And somebody's like, "How do I find that shirt?" And then other people were wearing it, and a lot of people, at least 10 people stopped me. But on my way from one side of the room to the other side of the room to talk to her and tell her about how much people had stopped, two more people stopped me and told me how cool that shirt was.
Right.
So,
And they were right.
and
That
yeah,
is a cool shirt, and it is all the more cool, as opposed to cooler, being at a convention.
oh yes,
It's
uh,
really amazing because I've seen you wear it at a convention or two or three or five, and people respond. It's amazing. It's easier than offering them candy.
it's true though, and like we say always here, read more comics, and they're good for you. But this is a great shirt. There's some other stuff that are available if you're interested. Go into the comment section where you're watching this, and there's a link there to Rogue Prints to this shirt, and then just click on the other stuff. There's ways to get around, and there's a new design she has. Plus, she's brought back some of her other old designs, which we love. Um, we totally are excited about that. I did buy two other shirts. So when you leave me alone with Becky Cloonan art, I will buy it.
You'll buy shirts.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'll buy. Listen, there's things hanging in my house that I was left alone with a credit card and an internet, and it's Becky Cloonan.
You see, the art dealers know my taste, and they know when to have somebody standing in front of that artwork, looking at me. This is
Mm-hmm.
something I shared in common with a guy who used to run the bar at the Society of Illustrators because every time I'd go up there, usually with really great artists, he would stare at me, staring at the artwork in the room, but in particular a Landdecker that was bigger than my car, and he would never take his eyes off of me and that Landdecker. Every time, this is true for years. And I'm assuming he didn't know my background. So why did he think I was going to make off with it? And how would I make off with it? But he was right to the extent that I was trying to figure it out.
Was this also the same with the 1951 Buick XP 300 Cyclops?
Oh, do you have that up there?
I don't, but I can get it.
Oh,
but it's here.
That's yeah. That is that's the car I want. That's my car.
We'll get it before the end of the show, and we'll talk about it.
Well, I'm going to be interviewing, which is kind of silly, Mike Grell at Baltimore in 2 months, and Mike specifically asked that I was on that panel. He remembers a time when he promised me a 1957 Thunderbird that I don't have. And I'm going to tell him I'm trading that request in for the Cyclops, for the Buick Cyclops. Amazing looking car.
Well, all right.
With fins.
I'll get that up there at some point. In the meantime, let's talk about some Kickstarters. There's a bunch going on right now. I want to highlight some of them. And I want to talk about Kickstarter in general, but before we get to that, let's highlight this one, which is Long Distance, the Travel Miles Club Edition. Long Distance is a story by a friend of the show and friend of us, Tom Zoller, that is one of the first Tom Zoller things that I read. If I remember correctly, it was a 4-issue series put out by IDW. Has since been out of print, so you cannot find it unless you have it. There wasn't a lot printed, and so this is a reprint or a recollection of the book of the 4 issues into a collected edition. Plus, there's additional material here. There's an additional, 10 years later story for this, and it's definitely one of my favorites. I really, really enjoy it. There's some really good backer rewards, some interesting design work, that I'm sure is interested in going back at. But this one is up. It is funded currently. It just started yesterday. There's plenty more options on the other stretch goals and whatnot. So that's one of them. Are you familiar with this one?
Is this X-rated? Is this X-rated?
This is not
X-rated. Oh my!
Well, I think that all of the ones that I have highlighted, and there's about 3 or 4 more, are somehow not X-rated. There is that. We had mentioned that. What do you have? You have questions?
I do. Before the show, you had mentioned that a whole lot of Kickstarters are for X-rated stuff.
Sure.
X-rated comics. I'm not referring to Kickstarter in general. I don't know what else they do but comics, and I know they do other things.
Sure.
But I was unaware that a majority or even a large percentage of Kickstarter started kicking are X-rated comics.
Well, I mean, there's no nudity allowed on the site, so everything is blocked out. But when you actually get the work, a lot of it is there's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of sexual content in some of the in a non-insignificant portion of the projects that are there. And I think that I think it's just filling a void. We all know that, cartooning is an outlet for sexual suggestion, has been since the very beginning. And in the in comics itself, when I was younger and you were younger, there were publishers that printed erotic comics that you could get at comic shops behind a curtain.
Those some of my best friends.
Sure.
Dennis Kitchen,
of course.
Example. You know.
Of course. And some of our best friends even worked on those even today, you know. But I'm saying that that type of content is not available in a retail store anymore.
And that's true.
And
it's hard to find. Yes.
Well, not new. I mean, you can find older stuff, but there's no new content there. And so people are making new content, and they need a place to get to, you know, apply their wares, for lack of a better word. And I think I think there's some good to that. I don't think there's you know, there's always this weird concept that you don't want to, you know, ruin the platform and have people, you know, think that it's only that, which it isn't. Like I said, there's plenty of stuff out there that's great, but it is a place where you can find stuff.
On the other hand, the content of much X-rated material, particularly these days, is quite worthy. Important to the story. Is it
sure?
Should it be available to everybody? Probably not, but that's true about everything. So I don't have a problem with X-rated material being out there, and I do have a problem with people who are taking graphic novels along with other novels out of libraries because they're X-rated, because they have a side boob shot in a third of, you know, in a third of a panel. The overreaction is always 10 times, 20 times worse than the problem. And now it's greater than ever.
Sure. So yeah, that's a thing. But as I said, excuse me. These
you drew a great shadow. That's great. The shadow.
Well, okay. Before I get to this, it just bothered me. So I have this nice mug here, and is a Death Wish coffee mug. It's a Death Wish coffee. You can zoom in and you can see it. Anyway, I'm right-handed, and so in order for people to see the mug and for me to advertise the mug, I need to hold it with my left hand, which is much more uncomfortable than if I held it with my right hand. So now I can see this, but I already know it's a Death Wish coffee mug. Why is the insignia not on the outside for a right-handed drink?
Well, are you in for a piece? Because then I'd understand why you're trying to break your hand in order to show off a coffee mug. But you're right. If you notice on late night television, which won't be around much longer, you will see that the name of the show is on the mugs they give to the guests.
Sure,
they get to keep those mugs,
right?
But they are highly cognizant of the fact that when they rest the mug on the table or on the desk, the logo has to be sticking out.
Yes, of course. Listen, there's logos sticking out here.
I am left-handed.
There's logos back here. We're aware of the logos.
Yeah, that's true. I am left-handed, and many years ago, I had a producer bitch at me about not holding the mug right. So what you say actually strikes a chord with my own experiences. It's like, well, I'm left-handed. Like, can you drink it the other way?
All right. So next Kickstarter we wanted to highlight. This one ends in less than 2 days. The Black Mirror USS Callister, which is a graphic novel based in the universe of the USS Callister Black Mirror episode, and it's put out by Twisted Comics. It is well funded, but looks really great. we're, there looks to be like they're going to continue to do different episodes of Black Mirror. So fans of Black Mirror will absolutely love this, and you can pay pounds for this one too. So we always love to be able to pay in other media.
So you've expanded your agenda.
Yes, we're going to.
What can we pay for in pounds?
Exactly.
Do they take euros?
I don't know, but this next one is not foreign material. Well, not, you don't pay in foreign currency. This one is a Kickstarter that has only 3 days to go. Also, running out of time. Also, not quite funded yet, although that number keeps going up very quickly over the last few days. The Lawrence Brothers Detective Agency, the graphic novel by Z2 Comics. They're kickstarting this graphic novel, and it's written by the Berkowitz brothers and Brian Urin and all 3 Lawrence brothers. This was spotlighted at San Diego Comic-Con. The Lawrence brothers were there, and what we're part of the reason why, Z2 makes a lot of cool stuff with a lot of famous people and whatnot. Our thing behind this and why we're excited about it is that this graphic novel is drawn by a friend of the show, Sean Von Gorman of comics. Mm-hmm. And I think this is great, and I hope that it gets funded and this book gets made. Actually, I think it's mostly done already. But
have you met the folks who do this?
The Z2 people or the Lawrence brothers?
The Lawrence brothers.
I have not. I didn't get a chance.
If you happen to run into them, can you ask them for me if they tried to get a trademark on their name?
Interesting. Well,
Frank Sinatra did.
Interesting. I don't know. But I do know people who know them, so I can try that. We'll check it out.
By the way, so did Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler made a lot of money. Every time you bought a German postage stamp with his face on it, he got money. He got paid for it.
Don't tell the Orange Man
that. I'm trying to give him something else to do.
Okay, we have all right, I'm gonna skip that one. We got 2 more we're gonna get to, and then we're gonna get our guest. 2 more to get to, and then we're gonna get our guest in. These are both ending fairly soon. Well, this one's not ending soon, but we still need to get it up there. Hasn't passed yet. Atlantis wasn't built for tourists, which is this is the deluxe digest edition. So this is written, and this Kickstarter is being run by Eric Palicki. And he's taking advantage of the DC concept and recollecting and reprinting this collected edition in digest form. So a smaller handheld situation.
By digest, you don't mean like the size of what is soon to become the old Archie digest.
No, not that. The new DC digest form, like the new DC Finest digest form.
So they call those digests?
That's what they're calling it. They're calling it digest.
That's idiotic. They're really good.
I know.
They shouldn't make you think about the little, pun not intended, about the little Archies. We should talk about that. I want to mention something about that later.
Okay, we are going to get to that. Are they? Yeah. So anyway, Eric Palicki wrote this. Wendell Cavalcanti did the art. Mark Dale colored it, and Sean Lee lettered it. This is the same writer and artist from Blacksmith, which is a big favorite of ours, mine at least. And this is a great story. I've read the story. I love it. I highly recommend it. There's 22 days to go on this thing. They're not asking a lot, and it's great. I highly recommend it. So go check it out.
Is that supposed to be the cover art?
That is the cover art.
It's great.
It's a great piece. It is. It's very interesting story. Lots of there's horror, there's sci-fi, there's fantasy, there's vampires, there's monsters. It's great drama. It's a good story. I like it a lot, and it's really well drawn as well.
And if the reader hasn't been to Times Square, it'll give the reader a sense of what goes on there.
Sure. Um, last one. This one has 11 days to go. Where Monsters Lie was a Dark Horse book. There were two volumes of it. It's written by our friend Kyle Starks with art by Peter Kowalski, I believe. I believe that's who it is. The third volume was not to be at Dark Horse. So Kyle and Peter have come together and decided they're making a graphic novel one-shot edition to finish the story. It is already funded. There are 11 days to go, but you're not going to be able to get the end of this story anywhere but through this Kickstarter. And it was highly praised after volume 1. Volume 2 was just as good. We have a fan on the show, and it is. I highly recommend it. So we will put all of these Kickstarter links in the chat at some point during the show. So stay tuned and go back and check them out. I wanted to take advantage of doing that. I think that we spend a lot of time talking about the news, and not of all of it's good. And I wanted to talk about things where people are trying to get their work out there, and we can come together as a community. And
like you and so many others who watch this podcast, I support as many Kickstarter projects as I can. I have a hard time keeping track of them, and I'm not infinitely wealthy. I'm not wealthy at all, but these aren't very expensive. You can toss in $50, $40 sometimes, it's even less, and help the artists and the writers do their own storytelling without having to sell their soul to some venture capitalist or corporate monster. So I very highly recommend it. In fact, the best comic book I've read in the last week, new comic. I'm reading a lot of Golden Age lately. Let's see if I can get this in there right.
Big Shoulders.
I got the first issue, the promised issue. It's let me tell you the credits because I don't recall them because my brain doesn't work. John Dudley and Scott Gray wrote and drew this, and it's set in my hometown. So therefore, it attracted my interest, and it is a wonderful story about a bunch of kids who live in various Chicago neighborhoods, get together to a band and do all kinds of weird stuff. It's a human story. It's very well done. And by the way, the folks who did the work know their stuff. They took advantage of their location as opposed to just using it for, the great myths, many of which are perpetrated by the Orange Man.
Yeah. Let's stop talking about the Orange Man. All right. Let's talk about some other cool stuff. We are going to have our guest join us now. He has been on the show before. We loved having him, and we love having him back. He's got some new comics coming out that we're going to talk about. And so Zack Kaplan is going to come back to the show, and he's here, and let's bring him in. Hey, Zack.
Hello.
Welcome back. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hi, Zack.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I don't know if you were with me last time I was on pop culture.
I think you're right. I think Mike was unavailable that night.
I think I missed it, so I'm glad to have both of you guys.
Well, it's wonderful to meet you through
Nice to
these
meet you.
like that. And I assume the cap you're wearing stands for Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Yes.
Ah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. Surprise. Yeah. Not surprised, but yeah, in Los Angeles.
Yeah, a lot of people live there.
I'm surprised because I'm wearing the hat, I guess. Yeah.
That's fine. So last time you were here, we were talking about, I don't think Kill All Immortals was out yet.
I don't think so either.
And neither was Beyond Real. And they were both fantastic.
Thank you.
I can't say how much I love Beyond Kill All Immortals. It has been one of my favorite stories since the time that you were on the show. In that whole period, I've loved that story. I'm very excited for it to come back, and we're going to get to that
Yes.
pretty shortly, because I have somehow in my inbox I got a copy of issue 1 of the new volume, and it's really, really good.
Thank you.
But let's talk about the book that hits first with you, and then we'll get to some other stuff. But Masterminds comes to shops on August 27th, so next Wednesday.
Yeah.
From Dark Horse Comics, art by Stephen Thompson, who you worked with on a previous work, and then the colors are by Tiago. Is it Rocha or Roca?
Yes.
Okay. And
that's a good point, Zach. You can work for years with somebody, for years, and not know how to pronounce.
I've talked to Thiago directly, and I still, at my own fault, have sometimes trouble just because. I can't even roll my R's, let alone get flavorful sometimes. So it's my deficiency, but it's Thiago Rocha is his name, but
okay.
Roca, I think either are totally fine.
Okay, well, and then letters by Hassan,
yeah,
which he's one of my favorite letters.
Amazing.
And so just keep hiring him to do your letters.
I am.
This book, I find it crazy how timely it is, in the fact that, and I'm going to spoil just a little bit, like issue 1 takes place at GameCon, which started today.
Yes.
That's some good planning right there.
Yes, years in the making. It is a lucky coincidence that we are dropping our book during GamesCon, yeah, it's the book does take place around a gaming convention, loosely, which also has echoes of any convention, has echoes of comic conventions, that have echoes of pop culture conventions, and yeah.
I just found that part super interesting.
Yeah.
in that happened. But let's talk about the story. I mean, there are so many echoes of the life of the creative, and the struggles of the life of the creative, in what we learn about the protagonist, in issue 1. A lot of that pull from experience, or from
Absolutely
from stories of others.
Absolutely from experience. Yeah. And I think, but I try to approach it in a broad sense, so that anyone, whether they're creative or anyone who's, I think, hardworking and trying to get ahead and trying to succeed, and maybe doesn't feel like the system it doesn't feel like the rules that they thought they were playing by are fair or are working out, that it taps into that sort of frustration. So, but absolutely, I've been a creative person pursuing these endeavors for decades, so very much tapping into something personal here. Yeah.
But those are feelings and emotions that you're tapping into, that just about everybody shares, and that's wonderful, because you're life and each other person's lives intersect in ways that we can't even imagine. So it's beautiful to get that out there. The reader goes, "Hey, wow, I got that going too," or "Is that how he handled it?"
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's great. It's good
And
stuff.
I mean, generally, you know, a lot of the works that I've done, I like to look at society and maybe how it's changing. Sometimes I'm looking at technology or sci-fi advancements, but here, what I found most interesting was kind of the gamification of success and kind of how we've all subtly changed how we approach success or how we approach things in life, you know, getting ahead or work. Everything has been gamified. You know, finding a job has been gamified. You know, finding a
Yes.
partner has been gamified. It seems like so much has been gamified, and then yet, ironically, here we all are struggling to try to get that American dream, get ahead, and it seems like the rules that we're all playing by versus the people that skyrocket to the top. It seems like we're all playing two different games, and so tapping into just kind of a lot of those societal changes that I feel are also very timely as it correlates to success in games.
And if we as storytellers do not pursue that, we are missing the opportunity afforded us of our time.
Absolutely.
We live here. Let's talk about it. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying take sides necessarily.
Oh
It's good to
no.
take sides for good and against evil, but we all have our own definitions of what that may be. It's good to get the topics out, to get the conversations going.
Yeah, I don't know what the right choice is, but I do know that getting ahead in today's society doesn't seem to value just hard work, just intelligence, just human decency, just collaboration. There seems to be something that's shifted where we value the cutthroat. We value the person who's willing to play by their own rules. And we deify that when we look at icons who are becoming millionaires and billionaires. It seems to be not that they were compassionate or generous, but that they are playing by a different set of rules. And so I don't know if the answer is to become like them or to just accept that the game. I don't have the answer either, but I certainly know that there's something going on in our society and our culture that feels different this decade than the last
Yeah,
decade and the last previous decades. And so Masterminds is kind of this fever dream fantasy and a thriller about what if you could join, you know, a secret society that gave you the chance to play by a different set of rules, you know, but what would they require of you? What level of participation does the game require to play? And so it taps into some things that are very Squid Games esque, but I think, and so there's some similarities there, but I think Squid Games is a very contained game and very much about greed. And this is a very different. This game is a out in the open game. It relies on intelligence and on other character factors, and I won't go into too much detail, but
A lot of nerve I'm expecting.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I agree. I think you touched on a really important point. Both of you have, and it's something that's been, you know, kind of bothering me in my mind recently. And that there is this, you know, we have a game show host for president. I mean, it boils down to that, and the the lack of scripted television, the lack of scripted things. It's all reality based, and how can I beat the other? From Survivor to
Yeah.
to Ink Master to all of these things where you survive by beating someone. Everything is a
Right.
competition,
Everything's a competition.
and it's
Right.
interesting because we used to have things like I'm interested to see how. I don't expect much of, but I always found, I don't know if I saw this right, but the Running Man movie from the 80s,
Yeah, they're
is
remaking it.
they're remaking it, and I'm looking forward to it because I like the cast, um, but the original film it was cautionary. It was,
Yeah.
hey, it was satire, but it was also like, hey, is this the world we want to go towards? And we've
Yeah.
ended up there.
Yeah, it's interesting that the one thing I noticed about The Running Man, because I love that original movie, and I did see the trailer recently for the new one, and the core difference that they did is they took it out of the confinement, and now the game of pursuing the Running Man is taking place in the streets around all of us, and everyone is filming it and watching it, which captures that we used to watch these things on our television. Now we watch them, you know, right before our very eyes, or with our phones. So there's an evolution there to it for sure, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, I feel that gamification of it, and you know, as someone who just wants to tell stories and be creative and share my passion for what I do, you know, it's strange to me to sometimes be put in this position where suddenly you know, I'm given scenarios where success seems to require gamemanship, and it's like, wait, why is that required? So I think it definitely comes from years of seeing creativity meet business. But again, I think it's more than that. I think it's just, I think anyone can relate to this. You know, anyone who's gone to a boss and said, here's what I think my value is, here what I think my worth is, will you support me, will you empower me? And the boss says, no, I won't. You know, and you get that wake up call where, wait a minute, I thought that hard work and talent and all these things were supposed to be the barometer. So the idea also came from this real life thing that I discovered, which is called a mastermind circle. And apparently these are real elite secretive groups. They have been around in America ever since Ben Franklin, and they got really popular in the 80s. I think they were at Harvard and other Ivy League programs. And basically a group of people would get together and say, hey, let's all help each other get ahead by any means possible. And just in very classic nepotistic fashion. But this is something that exists. And I feel like that approaching success in a gamemanship sort of kind of style was just interesting fodder for a thriller.
Yeah, I live a few, maybe 30 miles away from Skull and Bones Society headquarters, so yeah, I'm familiar with what you say. There was a time, I set this time pretty much at the release of the movie Wall Street, where greed was thought of as bad. Like, don't be too greedy.
Yeah.
Greed is bad. Well, after that movie, and it's not the movie's fault, the movie was reflecting what had been going on and is going on much stronger today, is reflecting a growing belief, not just a trend, not just a device, a belief that greed is necessary.
Yeah.
That if you're not a greedy asshole, you're a loser.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, my God.
You're in the right spot. You're in the right spot, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What happened? Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to, can I share this? You see this page that I want to share?
Sure.
All right.
I think so.
So this is,
oh yeah.
This is one of the pages from Masterminds, spoilers and sneak peeks or whatever. But I really love this page. It's a very simple kind of thing, but this is a double page spread. Am I right?
Yeah.
And it's excellently designed. Great job.
Yeah.
It is that is one of my pet peeves and the things I always get upset at. There's two double page spreads early in this book that are both very well done. This is again another one of them. I know I can see where the spine is going to go, and it's perfectly set.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I'm staring at that right now because that fourth balloon, rather, the fourth balloon looks a little bit too close.
And I think it's going to be okay. I think it's
it
going
is.
To be fine.
It's okay. Yeah, this is the artist. Real quick is Stephen Thompson, who I worked with before at Thiago. And they do an absolutely stunning job designing this world, and we did a tremendous amount of work and research to try to capture. It's a very noir world. I actually sent Thiago off to go study Fincher's work, David Fincher, and he was watching, and we were looking at movies together because Fincher does this thing called skip bleaching, which kind of takes out a lot of the the color and makes the darks darker and the whites whiter. And so you take a day on the boat and you get these really sickly yellow skies and this kind of green sort of ambiance under everything that makes it feel off, which is really exciting to see it come to life in a comic. So I could not be happier with the aesthetic that came out of this. And then the nighttime scenes are just so rich in the shadow work, and you really feel like you're sneaking through the city on these challenges with them. And then every now and then there'll be just a really cool pop of color. But it
is the color in here is, and Tiago's done a fantastic job with both with Kill All Immortals and
he's on. Yeah, you can see why I'm stuck on him. He's just really good.
It is the two most unsung portions of the creative team. You've got good ones. Keep them.
I damn, yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't want to spoil anything else, but get this book comes out next week. It is it's stunning visually, and the story is captivating. I'm very, very excited for more.
I'll tell readers. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Is it a limited run? Is it an ongoing?
It is. This one is a miniseries. It's a 5-issue miniseries.
5
it
issues.
Is limited.
Okay.
Run. Yeah.
Make a nice book.
Yeah. And one other fun aspect of the book that we tried to do is that since the premise is this young programmer is trying to join this secret society, and he comes across their first challenge and he gets the chance to enter their game, so to speak. So the whole experience is him trying to solve these really clever challenges and riddles and all sorts of things to show his intelligence and his value to the mastermind secret society. And so we had to really really work hard to try to come up with some challenges and riddles and things that would test readers. And so I'm hoping that readers will also pause in the reading, and when they get to a challenge, stop and see if they can figure it out, and kind of just have a little bit more of a experiential, immersive type of experience reading it, and maybe in the aftermath of reading an issue, talking amongst friends to say, well, what did you think that riddle was, or did you get did you get that challenge? And just give, in addition to a really compelling, what's going on mystery thriller, to have that layer as well. So I think that's a fun thing. We had a lot of fun kind of designing that, and I'm excited for readers to check it out.
And I caught that, especially in the first challenge that's exposed to Edward. I was like, okay, you spent a lot of time figuring that one out.
I did, yeah.
Like it's not a knock joke.
No, it's not a knock. No,
I'm reminded of the first conspiracy I ever came across, and that was because of Mad Magazine, and it was over 60 years ago. It's a long time ago, early 60s. They had a story called "Was George Washington Really George?" And they talked about Adam Weishaupt. Now, Adam Weishaupt, I think, was a real human being, but he has been generally perceived as the head of the American Illuminati, who had replaced Washington as our first president. And, if I was like 12 years old, I'm looking at this thing going like, wow, that's cool. He means this whole thing's been a fraud. And somehow we've managed to come up with a whole operational political doctrine to follow that in the ensuing 60 years.
Yeah. I mean, secret societies are fascinating, and there's something really interesting. I feel like we all, when you find out about them, even if they're elitist or nefarious or whatever, we're still fascinated by them. The power. It's this idea that they know the truth about the way the world functions. They can lead you towards what you really want. It's a very alluring, seductive opportunity. So
they have access to the levers that turn the doors and turn.
That's right. And so it's very easy to understand why someone who's frustrated by constant rejection and not being seen and not being heard would be enticed by something like this. So this is very much, in addition to being a thriller, a seduction story, just to watch this young man be pulled in and what will happen.
And that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how you get people involved. I don't want to say in conspiracies. First of all, most conspiracies are bullshit. Second of all, most real conspiracies are just people acting out of their own benevolent shared self-interest, which is
Yes.
very, very easy to predict. But it is the perfect excuse, politically, socially, even interpersonally. It's a perfect excuse. No, no, no. There are all these other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was planted as one of those other people in the 3-book series Illuminatus, which now is something of a big deal amongst about 800 really paranoid people. But Illuminatus is a brilliant book about the master conspiracy starting, with Adam Weishaupt. And it's about how the Illuminati controlled us all. And in order to put valid references in their books, they would send me stories by mail. And I would follow up on them to the limited extent I could and print those stories, not in comics. This is with a weekly newspaper I was with at the time. And then they wrote a book, and then they would reference those stories as if they were absolutely true, as opposed to planted by them.
Yeah.
And there were about a dozen other people who were involved in that. And then Robert Anton Wilson and Bob Shea, but mostly Wilson, wrote a very, very lengthy, presumptuous analysis of my sex life, which never made print except for in my own publication. Because I didn't say that. Don't print that shit.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. We're gonna come probably back to Masterminds, and but I want to get to Kill All Immortals, and Kill All Immortals too. But before we do that, we have a question from the chat. It says, "What is your favorite type of story to write?" And I'm curious about that because you have in your catalog quite a few different genres.
A lot. And I love mashing genres together. And so from a genre standpoint, I'm always seeking a new genre or a new pair of genres, sci-fi, Western, or, this is secret society, thriller. So I'm always looking for new pairings for myself. And in that way, I'm always looking for something new. But what's fascinating is after being a writer for 9 years and having a dozen or more books, looking back at them all, I find, and doing interviews like this and talking about my work, I find that I'm actually repeating some common themes and some common aspects again and again. And that is about a person facing a world gone mad, or facing a world that is moving too fast, or facing a world that they don't understand, and trying to make sense of that world, and trying to find their place in it, and trying to remain human in it. And in that way, all of my stories are kind of about those someone who starts off kind of powerless in a world that seems to be turned upside down, and they're trying to find their way and find their humanity. And I think that is my favorite. I think that's the story I keep coming back to again and again. I think there are certain kind of characters that I just don't take on, and I keep coming back to the same types of characters, about trying to find our way in the world, and in a changing world. And so that's the kind of story that I'm drawn to most.
There's a great movie, my favorite Hitchcock movie, that addresses these themes in a manner that at the time was very subtle. I don't know how it would go over today. It is North by Northwest, and a guy who goes out, in the evening for like a pack of cigarettes. It used to be you could do that. You could go out to the drugstore, and instead of drugs, they'd give you drugs, and doesn't come back for like weeks, and gets involved in this international conspiracy with the U.S. government and all these other governments, and a big ass chase scene on Mount Rushmore. And it's a great story. It is great wonderfully filmed, but it is about the paranoia that you are still addressing in 2025.
Yeah, it is. That is one of Sherry's favorite movies. I love it as well.
Really?
Hmm?
I knew Sherry and I had even more in common. It's one of my favorites as well, for the reasons I just mentioned.
I know it, but I'm trying to remember. It's Mistaken Identity movie, right? Is that the
Yes.
one of the original Mistaken Identity movies? And then I think after that they made, dozens and dozens of Mistaken Identity spy movies. But that's the predecessor.
They also hired people from that movie who were in that movie for subsequent spy TV shows. So,
Sure.
so if you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of fun too. It's just an added piece of fun there.
Yeah.
But Alexander Waverly is in that, and as is Roland Hand. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
I think your answer is accurate. I feel like that is definitely a recurring theme in your work. The questioning the world that we live in. There's a lot of that, and I think you're searching for sanity in the world that we live in, whether in all of the different stories that you've told over the years are I don't think we found the answer yet.
No, although the more I go on this journey, the more I think that there is no sanity out there.
We refuse to accept the possibility that there really is no answer. That this is the way it is. This is the way when you get a planet full of like 8 billion people that was built for maybe one, you get this stuff. This is what happens.
I think that where I'm coming to slowly is you cannot, the world may be upside down and the world may have gone mad, but you can still control your own subjective experience in your own life, and you can still choose the values that you want to have. They may not align with the world, and but that's where the conflict comes. But you can wake up a happy person and go to bed a happy person. You just may have to accept that you cannot change the world.
I think on that note, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I think you hit that right. She is that person.
This is about that too. Absolutely. Yes.
I love this story. I read
Thank
issue
you.
1 of this. I love where you've taken it. Can you just talk a little bit and explain, give our listeners an idea about what Kill All Immortals is about?
Yes. Kill All Mortals is a really epic action dramatic series at Dark Horse, and it's about a family of Vikings that 1,000 years ago discovered some secret form of immortality. And now present day, they live as a very secretive billionaire family, one of the most powerful families in the world. And they control things from the shadow. And the protagonist is the only daughter of this very barbaric masculine family. Her name is Frey Asvald. She wants to stay true to her ideals. She wants to be a good person. She wants nothing to do with the family business. And in the first arc, circumstances come to bear that force her at odds with her family in a very very violent and dramatic showdown. And she's fighting against her very overbearing father and her 3 brothers. And so it's, in that regard, it's HBO's dramatic Succession meets John Wick action with Immortal Vikings. And we had a real successful first arc of it, drawn by really fast up and coming DC artist Fico Ossio, who's now on Batman Robin. Amazing artist.
Freaking love Fico's work.
He's amazing.
And interestingly and ironically, last week we had Aubrey Sitterson on. And he did
No One Left to Fight.
No One Left to Fight.
Aubrey, yeah.
Yes. And it's so interesting because I was a big fan of his work on No One Left to Fight. And it is such a different tone with Kill All Immortals. And it's equally beautiful, equally amazing, but just such, like, almost it would be hard to say that's look at it and say it's the same.
Yeah,
level.
I'll tell you this story. So I had seen Fico's work much earlier on and been drawn to it. And we actually had talked about collaborating for years, but sometimes these conversations with artists, everything is passing ships. And then one day he posted something on Instagram where he had drawn some spec art of Batman pages. And it was gritty and it was edgy and it was completely different than what I had seen on his work. And I was like, holy shit, you can do this, you can do this too. Let's go. And I immediately pitched him Kill All Immortals and he loved it and we made it happen. And I'm so excited to have him on board. There's so many layers to Kill All Immortals, from the depth of the acting to these insane fight sequences, to 1 minute we're in a modern world of super yachts and the next minute we're in a world of ancient Viking temples, and he nails it all. And what's been so fun is finding our bearings in the first arc, and now we're bringing it back. It was really successful for us, so we've been promoted to be an ongoing series, and we have a whole brand new arc starting in just a month and a half, October 1st, and we get to expand the world. We pick up right where we left off, and Fico just continues to show off. I think the first issue is just a testament to how good he is right now. So yeah, very happy to have him on board.
Is he near you? Do you work together, or do you collaborate through, mail and email? And
we've done Zooms and stuff and talked. He lives in Brazil, but we've communicated on Zoom conversations when we need to, and on email. I'm a very collaborative creator. I just really like to geek out, and I don't like to just take the first thing that comes for anybody. And I push my artists to play with my scripts. I want them to have the freedom to combine panels or bring me different things at the layout phase when the stakes are low and I'm not asking anybody to redraw anything. I really like to throw out different ideas to try to capture the most intensity or the most heartfelt moment or whatever, to find that anchor panel and just really, or to come up with an inventive layout. And both of these artists, both Steven and Fico, have been fantastic collaborators, very different styles and very different stories, but fundamentally I found a really solid rhythm of collaboration with both of them. And at the end of the day, it's ultimate. I approach things saying it's ultimately the artist's page, and if the artist wants to do something, absolutely going to support that. But I'm here to almost like a director trying to get out a good performance of an actor, just to ask provocative questions and raise ideas and create discourse that can just lead us towards the best story possible.
You may probably, and I'm sure you do from time to time, pause and say, boy, I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be able to work with people like this. And that's right, you are. As is everybody else who is in that situation. Yeah. Not as many people as I'd like to see, but more and more all the time. And that's the way it's supposed to be done. That's the attitude you're supposed to have, in my book. And my book was canceled a long time ago, but in my book, that is the appropriate attitude. Comics, first and foremost, is a visual medium, but it starts with a story. If the story isn't visual enough, it could be a great story. It's going to fall flat on its ass.
Right. Yeah. The debate that always goes on social media about artist versus writer is really an odd one to me. Both are so equally valuable and necessary to come up with a good comic book. You can't have one without the other. And it's like arguing who loves me more, mom or dad, can't we both just love you the same? So I feel like, I love to go into it and collaborate. I think where it breaks down sometimes, and I've worked with many artists, and some artists you find total synergy, and some artists you find a little less synergy, is when the artists don't want to collaborate and the writer does. And that's there are writers and artists that don't want to collaborate who can work great together, and there are writers and artists that do want to collaborate that can work great together. What happens is when you have different styles that you come at it, and that often can be where you get some of that frustration that bleeds out into social media of someone not being, treated the right way or this and that. But
that's true, and that's that's part of the room that you're working. That's very true. But when I work as an editor with a team, with a writer-artist team, there is a whole certain set of ways I work with them. If it's a writer-artist, if it's one person, who may have assistants, but still one person, it's a different way, and it is totally different. In both are mutually exclusive in terms of much of the approach. You get great stories either way. You can trust the artist for being able to interpret the writer's story more effectively with a writer-artist, but sometimes this is the expense of innovation. Somebody looking at that story in a way that the writer could not. So there's no right way of doing this.
No,
it's the end result.
That's right.
So I want to follow up on this in terms of process, and a lot of the work that you do is kind of creator owned and kind of it's not part of a larger
license or anything.
Build license process. So would you prefer a situation where you provide a script and then get back thumbnails maybe and have a conversation before people just start diving into pages? Is that something that you would prefer before, or would you just prefer, or are you the kind of person who likes to hand in a script and just see what you get back?
Oh, the more conversation, the better for me. In fact, when I did Mindset, which was a Vault comic with John Pearson, who won an Eisner prior for Blue and Green, which was a Rom V book. Mindset was all about mind control and who's controlling who. And I came into that really hungry to play with the comics medium and really kind of flex some creative muscles and layout. And it was a fantastic pairing. John came in with the exact same interest and excitement. And by the end of the first issue, we were so entrenched in using the form to elevate the story that as we moved forward, there were some issues where before I even wrote the script, I would get on a Zoom with him and I would describe the issue story and I would let him tell me, oh, that could be a double. That could be a splash page. We could do something interesting with that one where what John, where would you want to play with form here? Well, what if we did something like this? And then I would take those ideas and I would go back and script off of his input. That's how so. And I'm all for bringing the artists in early. I don't want to set the artists up to have to do more work. So I get very careful about starting to bring that energy into pencils or inks where they're supposed to be cut loose. But at the scripting point, I like as much input as I can. I want to write to the artist's style. I want to know what they feel. There's nothing more, you're on a page and you're writing, you're like, is this a splash page or is this 6 panels? Like, what should this be? Well, I know the answer. Let's ask the artist. We got an artist on this book. Hey,
you got the visual storyteller.
Yeah. Why am I trying to? It's my job to figure it out, but I'm collaborating with an artist. Why don't I do this together? Sometimes I have the answer. Sometimes I don't. So I like to collaborate in conversation even prior to scripting as much as I can with an artist. And so, yeah, very much the first option.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
It's really just that simple. Every team is different. Sometimes stories will bring out different bits of your own personality and your artist's personality. And that's kind of interesting. I love the collaborative environment. The give and take, okay, that's good. How about what if we try this? And then you combine them.
Yeah.
I love that form. And we don't get to practice it. We didn't get to practice it very well back in the early decades of this medium, the first 50 decades of this medium or so, or at least 50 years. And now that we see more of that because we have more independent projects, because more of them are being started through Kickstarter or what have you, we get more collaboration, we get better stories. What's amazing to me is that we interview folks like yourself every week who are doing independent stuff and maybe they've done some stuff for the big corporate guys, or what have you. It used to be if you could just do superheroes, you were thought of as a superhero artist, which meant that for a long time everybody was a superhero artist. Now it's like, no, this is the story I want to tell.
Yeah.
Do I want to tell it with capes? It's not a cape story. It's about people, not about people who are not heroes.
Yeah.
Great. We can do that today. Forever we couldn't.
I've had many people come up to my table at conventions and talk about the beginnings of their careers and collaborations that have gone awry, partnerships where they connect with someone who is not interested, an artist who connects with a writer who the writer doesn't want to hear what the artist has to say, which is not okay, or vice versa. And so it really is, I think it comes from when you are at a place, no matter where your career is, where you have the confidence to collaborate. That's the
right.
You need the confidence to collaborate and say, I have an idea, but I'm working with someone. They have ideas too. I really need to find the synergy here. And I'm not afraid of those conversations. It's not easy to find good collaborative partners. You know, it's sometimes you partner with someone and you share a love for a story, and then you get in there and you work differently. So it's a challenge. I'm fortunate enough. You said I am very lucky, and I know I'm very lucky, not only for finding great artists that I get to work with, but finding great artists that I collaborate well with.
Right. And the nice thing about that feel out process in the beginning, as frustrating as it often is that it's okay for you to say, I don't think I can work with this guy as well as I'd like to.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know, and it's not
your
ego or his ego, it's your ego.
Yeah. The best thing you could do for yourself is identify that early on, for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Save a lot of time and sweat.
Yes.
And you don't come up with it as many new curse words.
Right. You do it kindly.
I want to just ask you a different type of process question. We talked about like how you can, but as you sit down to write a script for 22-page issue, is that your number 22?
24. Yeah.
24. Okay. One, how much do you put in the script? And two, how long does that take for you?
Well, I try not to do story conception and story development script by script. So for something like math,
you have a larger thing and you kind of say, take a chunk of it, right?
Yeah. So what'll happen is, I'll come up with an idea like masterminds. And when I first come up with an idea, it's no more than a paragraph. And for a pitch, I've stopped. I pitched so many different ideas over time to so many different places. So when I'm coming up with a pitch, I'm really not going to take a pitch more than a page or two. And I feel like a page or two is plenty of space to talk about what a story is going to be. This is about a secret society. The protagonist is this frustrated programmer. He's going to solve riddles and challenges. He teams up with this rebellious young programmer. They're going to go on this thing. Here's a few twists and turns, and here's how it ends. That's a page. So I kind of have a basic understanding of what the story is when I pitch it. Once I get the green light to go forward, that's when I'm not going to sit down and break issue 1. That's when I'm going to sit down and break the entire miniseries. So I'm going to spend a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at the absolute most, breaking the entire story. By the end of that stretch, I have a very detailed outline that will get me through. Now, I don't know what's on each page,
right?
But I know every single dramatic beat of every issue, and I know how the story begins and middle and end. And there are going to be some little tweaks along the way that happen, but then I can write issue 1 in 2 to 3 days. I can write issue 2 in 2 to 3 days. Generally, knowing myself, being a perfectionist, usually I'll hit issue 3 and I'll go, "Oh, wait a minute, this needs to change a little bit," and I might rejigger some things around and move this scene here, move this scene there, and work out the furniture placement or the little things in the story. But I have that map and I know where I'm going. Usually issue 5 is as easy to write as issue 1 or 2. Very rarely does it completely upend and change.
So
Usually
issue 3 is the problem, right?
Usually the middle I find is where I personally do the most amount of tweaking from an outline. But usually I'm 2 to 3 pages an issue, and then there's a lettering pass that will come where I get to refine the dialogue once everything's drawn. And I get to see the acting. I get to see, and I go, wait a minute, I need some dialogue to carry us through this page a little more, and I'll embellish something. So
when you do a lettering pass, is it already lettered, and you don't it's you
no,
looking at?
No, it's me taking the script and taking the art and rewriting the script to polish the dialogue or add sound effects, or maybe I had 4 lines, but really now we're going to get through this double. We need it to be 6 or we need it to be 2. So thinking about that, I do make revisions off once I get letters back. I try to do that as little as I possibly can and respect the letterer's work, but I'm human and I'm a writer, and I do change a couple. Can we have this guy say this instead? But as little of that as I can.
I had the privilege of working with Denny O'Neil for years, primarily on The Question as well as other projects.
I love The
Mostly on
Question.
The Question. And thank you. And we shared an office for 3 years. So I was just in fanboy heaven, but working with a great Denny O'Neil. And because we shared an office, our office was big and it had a couch. And we would sit on that couch and plot The Question. And all Denny needed was the beginning, the middle, and the end. And if we were in agreement there, he would go off. He lived in Greenwich Village at the time. So he'd go off on a little walk through Greenwich Village, probably smoking a cigar before his heart attack, and come up with the rest of the story, fill in the blanks.
That's right, yeah.
But when we worked like that, which I loved, we would pretty much have the beginning and the end down before we had the middle. We had to work on the middle. Sometimes we would change the rest of it, but the middle was the part you had to work on, as opposed to the beginning and the end, which is pretty easy on many stories, at least.
What people come up with beautiful stories, all sorts of different methodologies and all sorts of different ways. So someone could be listening to this and say, I'm a fly by the seat of my pants writer. I don't know where I'm going. And this person could win awards the way they write. So, everyone has different styles, but I like to say something with my story, and I like to think about what I want to say. And the end is the way you reflect what you want. If it's a down ending or an up ending, or, if it's redemption, or if it's, perseverance, those things are reflected in the way the character faces those final moments. That the climax is the theme, and so knowing that and designing that, nothing can be more important than expressing your story. Now, maybe you just have that subconsciously and you get to that ending anyway, but I'm a more thoughtful person in terms of like how I need to approach a story. So I need to know, here's the setup and here's the end and here's where I'm going. Frey Asvald is this character, this is the setup, this is the family she's in, and this is what happens at the end of the story. Now let's examine how we get there.
Right. Mickey Spillane, who was one of the more interesting guys I'd ever met, would always write the end of the story first.
Yeah.
And we can argue about Mickey's strengths as a writer, but that technique worked for him and told stories that really got across the players. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, from this point forward, I'm just babbling. There's different techniques.
Yeah.
And the best technique is the one you look back on and say, "Hey, that worked."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you hit on something interesting where you said, other people do other things. And what I wanted, and the reason I asked the question is because you've been doing this for 9 years or however long it is, and you've been doing it successfully because you've produced thought-provoking, exciting, entertaining work. And so I'm just curious as to how you go about it.
Yeah. Well, with Kill All Immortals 2, I mean, we thought that had potential when we took on the series in the beginning. So I knew that it had an opportunity to do more with it. And I immediately even knew what the next challenge would be for her in season 2, so to speak. So when I got the chance to go forward with that, I knew where season 2 was starting. And then now it was to decide, okay, where is season 2 ending? And, okay, now I know that. And now what is this journey about? And I think that the most fun is when you have a beginning and an end, you realize your theme, then you get to not just play with the plot, but play with the character journey, the emotionality of what that character is experiencing. And that's been one of the joys of Kill All Immortals, because it's this high octane action thriller. We've got Vikings and they're immortal and they're fighting like really, really fantastic fights. And so every fight is just, really cool. It's really violent. But at the end of the day, it's like this really interesting character story to me about this woman who's up against an institution of the billionaire class and immortality, and she's powerless against it.
Listen,
and
the thing about volume 1 with that was she was captivating from the get-go. She thinks she's on this path, she knows what she wants to do, and yet at every turn, even when she thinks she's safe, there's someone working against her, whether it's her family, whether it's society, whether it's the people that she trusts.
Yeah.
Which I knew he was going to be a fucking bad guy. but
yeah, she's designed that way because she wants two things that she cannot have both of them. She wants to be a good person, and she wants to have very strong agency over her family and over the world. And she in this drama lives in a world where might is right, where immortals rule, and where you cannot be a good person and challenge someone like her father, who is a barbaric billionaire. And so
essentially, right, I mean, just for people who aren't he's Eric the Red, right? He's Eric the Red
spoiler alert. Yeah, he is Eric the Red, the Viking explorer, and who was known to be, so cutthroat and barbaric. He was kicked out of Norway and exiled to Greenland and Iceland. So she can't have both, and that's the fun thing. And so season 2, the second arc, continues to challenge her in that, because now she has outside threats that she has to deal with, and she's facing them, but she still wants to be a good person, but she wants to protect her family, and she wants to change the world. And so again, it's the same kind of themes about, can you be true to your identity and affect the world, or do you have to become a bad person? What do you have to do?
Well,
yep. No.
What you have to do is come up with a great title, and you did. That is a great name. Who did the logo?
Tom Muller. I've used Tom Muller for so many of my logos. If you're not familiar with Tom Muller, he's one of the premier logo designers in the industry. He did the X-Men redo, House of X, and that whole line for a couple of years. And I came to him and I said, I want a really, really, really big logo, something that just screams how powerful this series is. And he came up with this, and it's absolutely fantastic for sure. And then we came up with this really fun design for the covers, where each cover is like a a fashion magazine almost, and each character is there in like, in designer clothes, but there just so happens to be Viking weapons and blood everywhere. So yeah,
Just so happens.
yeah,
It's a great logo for a great name or
yeah.
title.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I am amazed. The first thing I had seen before I read the logo was the style and the design, which is pretty much the way it should be. But it's like double wow. Wow, that's beautiful. What is it?
Yeah.
And then holy crap.
The logo's great. The logo's great. It's a very important part of the series for sure.
So speaking about design and this design, this is the cover of Masterminds 2, which is out in September. This design was this yours?
When we early on, we knew we needed a symbol for this mastermind society, and Stephen Thompson came up with 20 different types, but we went with this kind of maze-like symbol, which felt just perfect because it like draws you in and it implies crypticness and it implies kind of game stuff, and so it just felt like the perfect thing. And then we decided that I'm a big fan of covers that have consistency and kind of continue to share the same iconography. So you create kind of a brand for that series. So we came up, we're going to put this on every A cover essentially. And it's going to be a different kind of, and it's really all the covers were going to be also not character based, but the central character of the covers is the symbol and is the society. And if you see the character at all, they're minimal, they're powerless. This is about the institution versus the individual. So every main issue of the 5-issue series is this sort of style. And then he came up with this. I kept telling, I wanted something really like, and this is the collaboration. I said, I want something that's really kind of like textured. It's not like glitchy, but it's sort of like it's got this sort of energy to it. And he came up with this sort of these cuts that he did where there are these like strips, and he's changing the coloring on the strips. Both the issue 1 and issue 2 cover have it. And it's just really so cool. It makes it feel really kind of modern and alive. And yeah, there's some more of that kind of styling. So yeah, there's the third one. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really nice.
I love the consistency of the logo. The way, I think that's really cool too. I mean, this is great design. The art in it, it's beautiful.
And that logo is Tom Muller as well. That Mastermind logo.
I mean, he's brilliant. I mean,
he is brilliant.
Absolutely.
Both of these books you have coming out, these new books you have coming out, are gorgeous.
Thank you.
They are both also captivating and intriguing, and I can't wait for issue 2 of both of them. Is there anything else that we need to be ready for that you can talk about?
Yeah, one other thing that I have flying under the radar a little bit, but I'm really excited about is I did a series with Mad Cave that came out in last October, and the schedule was on and off, but we got all 5 issues out. But it's called Dark Empty Void. It's with Chris Sheehan, Francisco Segala, and Justin Birch of Ann World, and it's a cosmic horror thriller about black holes. Scientists open a microscopic black hole and then lose control. Surprise, surprise, and all sorts of crazy things come out, and very much like Annihilation or Arrival or little aliens thrown in there. And that's being collected into trade paperback September 25th, I want to say, right at the very end of September. So just about a month or so away. And that's a book I'm really proud of too. I think anyone who loves any of my books, but it's another real thought-provoking, real character-driven story wrapped up in a real high concept hook. So I'm very excited for people to check that out, especially because the run, there were some people that followed the run, but we were coming out every other month. And so I think there are a lot of people that probably saw the first issue or read the first issue and then said, let me wait for the trade. So that's out in September, which I'm excied about.
It's an interesting economics in terms of that. Like a lot of times, particularly where you're coming from, where you're coming out with, not the bigger 2 publishers, getting stores to buy issue 2 is the hardest
Yeah.
thing, or enough of issue 2 that people who bought issue 1 and went back looking for issue 2 and it's still there is always the biggest struggle, I think, today in the retail market.
For sure. And my druthers is to have it come out every month, but sometimes circumstances are beyond your control. So yeah. But
I think there's a good likelihood, or at least a strong possibility, that we will not, at some point, we will not be seeing monthly comic books. We'll just see what we now call trade paper.
Farther away than nearer.
I'm sorry?
I hope that's farther away than nearer.
Well, I agree, and people, including myself, have been talking about this for a long time. But it does avoid that issue of how does the retailer speculate their orders for the second issue or third issue for a book that hasn't been on sale yet. And also, bookstores are good. I like supporting bookstores. I like supporting everybody, but I love supporting bookstores. So that might change. It might not. We've been talking about comics being on the verge of extinction for as long as I've been alive.
Yes.
And the only point in time when they were really on the verge of extinction was when I was about 6 years old.
Yeah.
So, Bob, I totally appreciate your point. Zach, I got a whole different question to ask you.
All right, let's go.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in 2 places of note. The first place is the Midwest in Iowa, cornfields and all. So I think I am part a Spielberg Midwest kid, riding my bike around untethered and looking up at the stars, wondering what if, and very E.T. and Goonies sort of childhood there. So that's the first part. Then the other part is I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and I had a lot of trouble connecting with my peers in the South, just coming, being a more liberally minded Jewish kid and being dropped in the Baptist Bible Belt. I'm very lovely people, and it's a very friendly city, but I think I had a hard time finding my place. I found comfort in video games and computer games. I was a huge gaming nerd, so Masterminds taps into something that I know all
that in there. Yeah, sure.
Escaping into games because games made sense to me, and I wasn't very good. I wasn't a jock. I wasn't. That was where and back then, games were not cool, at least in Jacksonville. The games growing up for me were not cool. I was one of the only people. Now it seems like all the boys play games, so but I was one of the only ones. So I grew up kind of in an adolescence, feeling out of place and looking for a way to connect. And I think a lot of my stories come from those kind of 2 places of feeling like a dreamer and feeling like an outsider.
I have no doubt that the change in those 2 environments, the change over, and then the subsequent going out into the real world on your own terms,
right,
made you a much better writer.
I'm sure
it may not be the most comfortable thing to have to endure, but nobody's adolescence is comfortable.
No, sure.
It's not supposed to be.
Of course not. Yes.
We wouldn't have comics to begin with.
No, I have no regrets about living the life I've led. Life has led me to where I am, and I am very happy in my life.
Besides, at the end of August, Iowa corn is a machaya. It is just wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, since we're in the wacky question, so when I was up at Terrificon last couple weeks ago, I did a couple of days of question of the day. So I'm going to ask you both of the questions of the day.
All right, let's go.
And so the first one is the wackier of the 2, and what is your favorite concert that you have attended?
What is my favorite concert that I attended? Wow, it's not that wacky.
Well, it's the other one's more
Was it?
writery.
I went to my first concert. I never actually really went to a concert in high school, which
I understand.
again, that was
I
just,
understand that. I understand
yeah.
that. You
But I
have to
went
be
to
invited
my
sometimes.
first concert. I had only been in college for a few weeks, and I got dragged by some new friends, and I was very excited to go. But my first concert was a Blink 182 Less Than Jake concert before either of these bands were big. Certainly small enough that they were playing this really small venue in DC, and it was my first experience really experiencing punk music, or they were punk then. They quickly veered to be more pop punk, but when they first started, they were punk music, and I think I ultimately ended up listening to a ton of punk music in college, and it really helped me feel more kind of rebellious and I don't know. So it was my first concert, and I think people probably don't see me and think that I'm got punk roots, and I never got any crazy piercings or anything like that. But I ended up
You have time.
listening. I ended
Don't
up
worry
listening
about
to a ton of punk music in college, and I really loved it. So that was really fun, and it was fun to say that I saw those two bands when they were before they were big. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. All right. The other question is more creative thing, and it's a question I asked a bunch of people, and I got good answers and interesting answers. What character that you've written or you've worked on, single character, brings you the most joy to write?
Brings me the most joy.
Yes. Which character do you enjoy writing and working on the most?
That I did, or that I
That
do?
you have worked on. That you have.
Which character brought me the most joy? Now that I've written, I'm done with writing them.
You're done with some of them. Some of them they may be back. You don't know.
Frey is a lot of fun. She's up there in my top 3, no doubt. But I really loved writing June in Beyond Real. Beyond Real, for those of you who don't know, is a book I did with Vault Comics. It's what if we're living in a simulation, but instead of the Matrix, it's an artistic simulation. After all, if it's a simulation, if it's created, all things that are created are artistic and messy. So it imagines that we're in a multi-layered simulation, but each layer is a completely different artistic representation of our life. And it's about a young woman. She's a struggling artist herself. She's feeling unfulfilled, and she's in an accident that allows her to travel through the different layers of the simulation. And then, if that all wasn't ambitious enough, we decided that we were going to get 7 different artists to draw different layers of the simulation. So the whole thing becomes very much a love letter to artists and creatives. And it was really logistically challenging, but it was so rewarding to tell that story. And it's a real story. It's a real emotional story. She's a really lost, troubled girl at the beginning of this story, and she really gets tested, and she really finds some peace at the end of the story. And it's complex, but she finds she finds something at the end of this journey. And to see that story told by different artists, it was a emotionally challenging story to write, but I found a tremendous amount of joy bringing her to the end of that journey. And I think, as far as emotionally rewarding stories go, that's probably one of the most emotionally rewarding stories that I've written.
That's a great answer.
Yeah,
that is That's fascinating. I knew you didn't grow up in California, and certainly not in Southern California.
Did I grow up in California?
No, I said I knew you didn't.
I didn't. Yeah,
just from our conversation here.
Yeah.
you are a bit more worldly though than I would have guessed. So that's really interesting. You've been able to incorporate those experiences even on an emotional level into your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I
I think.
no. This has been absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we had you back on, and I look forward
Thanks,
to the next
guys.
time. We are so looking forward to both Masterminds and the return of Kill All Immortals. Masterminds is out next week.
Masterminds is out next week. I cannot wait. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and as I said, I've read issue 1 of both of those series. You won't be disappointed. They're beautiful. They're captivating. They're intriguing. I look forward to a lot of people having a lot of fun reading them.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. Yeah, they're both so different in a lot. I mean, we're talking about the similarities, but they're so different in a lot of ways.
Even still, like as I said, we talked about, using Thiago and Haas on in those.
Yeah, they're on both books. Yeah,
but they take different takes for each one. Each one has different themes. The stories have different themes, and so they adapt their style and their artistic presence to fit the right themes for both of those books.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They're incredible collaborators for sure. Very, very powerful creatives. Very excited for everyone to check out their work. Yeah.
It sounds like you're going to have yourself a really nice fall.
I hope so. Yeah.
And if people are looking to get to see you, you're going to be where are you going to be? You'll be at New York.
I'm going to be. New York is on the fence for me right now. I'm most likely going to be there, but I've got some real life things that I'm playing around with. So I'm not certain about New York, but I will be at Rose City Comic Con, which is in a couple weeks. Are you going to be up there, Bob?
I'm not going to be there.
Okay. But yeah, if not Rose City, most likely New York. But if I miss New York this year, I usually go to New York and I'll be it some more in next year. So, yeah, but I'm online. I love to hear what anybody thinks, checking out my work, especially if you're new to my work or new to these series. So I'm on Zack Caps on all social media, or I have a website, ZackKaplan.com.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Zach, for being here.
Guys.
Thanks for talking about your stuff. Thanks for sharing it.
We really appreciate it, and I really appreciate your coming back so that I can meet you.
It was nice. It was so fun. It was so fun. Thank you so much, both of you guys.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Zach. One thing I didn't say at the top of the show, but I left a hook for, was Archie Comics. Archie digests, because I think that what happened this past week was significant to the comics industry. Archie, after over 50 years, has decided to stop doing their digest comics. Now, I understand why. The financial model doesn't really work. They bought that space in the supermarket. And if you don't get enough churn, you're spending your money on nothing. All things must end. This does. They're coming out with another format for their sort of digest magazines, I guess they're calling them, thinner but larger. I think we got us a lot of new readers back, at least up until a few years ago, off of those supermarket sales of those digests. They introduced people to comics.
I hadn't heard that news, and I gotta say it's surprising. The people that I've talked to who work at and for Archie, that has been like the thing that they just hang their hat on. Like they're never going to go away, and then it'll be their cash cow from here to eternity. And so,
how many great 5-pagers have I read in the last year from Archie? I mean, there's some really wonderful stories, some writers and artists who, even a new talent sort of phase, not quite new, but newish. Garrett did all that work. My God.
Thanks for bringing that up. It is, it gives me a little pause. So I gotta say I'm a little concerned
I'm saddened. I understand the decision because I don't see any profit in maintaining it. And the one thing that Goldwater and Silvercliff taught their family was how to keep your eye on the profits. And I mean that in a positive way. But nonetheless, I think that was a real institution. They owned that institution. Everybody, Disney and Marvel, before Disney and DC, all tried it. Archie kept it for 50 years.
Sure.
So
I mean, I think
we need to note its passing. Besides, who else prints 1,000-page comics?
yeah, I mean, I think I have some of the old DC when DC tried to have some of those around still.
Yeah.
And they were great. So I mean, I think I am saddened by the loss of that, because I think it's a great way to get. It was a great innovator and attractor of readers to the medium, because it's a medium that's so accessible. It's something we talk about every week, and just how it doesn't matter the type of story or the genre or the length of the story or the whatever it is accessible to all readers. And the more that we can get that in their hands, the more their minds are opened. And like we say all the time, I say read more comics because they're good for you. So comics move your soul, and if you let them in, it will expand your mind. And it's one of the things that our guest Zack was talking about. Like he's using this medium to ask the questions about life and existence and the world we live in. And
Exactly.
and he's doing it with fantastic creators and collaborators, and it's goddamn beautiful and thought-provoking. And that is what makes this medium so great.
Absolutely right. And if you look back at many, or if not most, of the guests we've had here on the SquadCast, they all fit into that category, or so many of them do. And it's a whole different world. It's a great world. We're moving into an era where comics are standing on their own, particularly in the bookstores, and we're not dependent upon TV. We're not dependent upon movies. We're not even dependent necessarily on marketing the way the digests were marketed. We're not a mass medium.
Sure.
Or our books. Comics used to be a mass medium, and the book publishers made their money off of their mass medium sales. But book publishing, fiction, certainly nonfiction, is not mass media. And it seems like fewer people are actually reading than ever before. I don't think that's necessarily true, but it feels that way.
It feels that way. I think part of what we talked about earlier today, the gamification, the consistent competition that people go through makes the way that people operate in their lives different. I think reading has feels like is suffering from that.
Well, let me shift over to writing for a second.
Sure.
Quick second. We're supposed to surprise people, but we're not. Writers on the internet sometimes live in a shotgun shack, using the anonymity the internet can provide to be complete and utter assholes. That's not a free speech movement. It's a free speech movement only when President Trump says you can't say that. He doesn't do that yet. He kind of does, maybe some. Ask Stephen Colbert. But still, writers need to take responsibility for what they do. The best thing that ever happened to the comics business on so many levels in America was the establishment of credits.
Yeah. I agree.
And that happened at a time when most of the guys and they were mostly guys whose names were in the credit box were guys who 10 years earlier couldn't tell or wouldn't tell their neighbors what they did for living because comic book artists and writers were considered child molesters. And the center of all that happens to be right where I'm living right now in Connecticut.
Right.
And I got a chance to meet so many old guys who nobody would know about at all if not for those credit boxes.
I agree. I hate looking at old books without credit boxes.
Right.
You know, I want to know. I also want to know who drew the cover. You know.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, it was either Joe Kubert or Gil Kane. I don't like not 50% of all covers. So but
we should talk about that someday because I love Joe Kubert, as it's well known. He's been my favorite artist forever. But as a kid, I was pissed when he would do a cover and he didn't have anything inside. And he did a lot of covers because Carmine was designing them all, and Carmine and Joe were friends.
Yeah. All right. We have taken up enough of your time on this Tuesday. We want to remind you we will be back next Tuesday. We will have a show. We are lining up a guest, and if that guest falls through, then we'll probably just come up and talk about some comics. But we'll figure something out. We have a bunch of guests lined up. I am behind in my scheduling, but there's plenty of people who are lined up to be on the show. So we will be here every Tuesday. We have new content on popculturesquad.com every week. And we will continue to do this. We'll continue to tell you to read more comics. We'll talk about, have you seen Fantastic Four?
No.
Okay. When you see it, we'll talk about it.
Talk to my daughter.
All right. We will talk about pop culture. We will talk about things that we've seen. We're gonna try and synchronize on talking about particular media more going into the year.
I can talk, although I will not tonight, about something else based upon comics that I have seen.
Okay.
Because I just blitzed through one show at a time the first season of Wednesday.
Oh.
And the first couple of episodes of the second season.
Oh, the second season's out? I didn't even know.
Well, yeah. And I am so entertained and thrilled by almost everything. After I saw the first episode, I turned to daughter Adrian and said, "This is the first time I've ever thought whoever did the color correction deserves an Emmy."
Oh yeah, I mean that's fantastic. That's a great series. I didn't know it was out. We'll catch up. So we will talk about that in a future episode. And until next Tuesday, we will see you guys later. Thank you guys, everyone, for being here. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do, whatever buttons you need to push, so that you know when we go live next Tuesday at 8, which is next Tuesday at 8.
Push all them buttons, folks, so we can hear you breathing.
Right.
Thank you for being here once again. We will see you next week.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?